You packaged all this, your story, in the TEDx Talk that had over 4 million views. So I just want to reemphasize how important, how relatable this is, especially at this point in life. Thank you so much for joining us again on Second Act TV. I'm so happy to welcome back TEDx speaker, award-winning writer, and best-selling author, Jill Sherer Murray. Jill, thank you so much for joining us again.
Oh, I'm so happy to be back. Thrilled.
Our last segment, we talked about your book, Big Wild Love, The Unstoppable Power of Letting Go, which is a guide, really, for those of us in the later part of life, as we discussed, who find ourselves stuck in relationships or holding on to relationships, afraid to let go of of a bad relationship because we're afraid of being single, or we are single and again later in life and are just we just don't think love is in the cards for us. What I want to focus on here is really how you get to that point of all of a sudden understanding that, yes, I want to make a change, and then taking that courage, taking those steps to get there.
In a nutshell, Big Wild Love is essentially self-love with intention. So it's a very specific form of self-love that actually gives you the courage and confidence you need to take the risks that are associated with letting go, because you know and love yourself. You know that when you let go, even if it's hard, even if you feel grief, even if you feel lost, you will always be okay because you have you. That's a very, abbreviated version, but at a high level, it's important to understand that, because you really need to have that ground under your feet when it's time to let go. Otherwise, you just won't do it. If you don't think that you'll be safe, or you don't think you'll be okay, you're going to keep yourself stuck in a bad relationship, or even a relationship with someone who's wonderful, but just not right for you, which is exactly the situation that I found myself in. Yeah. So to let go, you really need to know 3 things. You need to know what it means to let go. You need to know when it's time to let go, and you need to know how. Mm-hmm. And so at a very high level, what it means to let go is not to say to yourself, this is not the right situation for me. I'm just going to figure out how to accept it, cope inside of it, or normalize it. That's not letting go. Letting go is full detachment. It's saying, this is not right for me. I'm going to move on. Wish this other person well, even if they're the spawn demon of whatever. Yeah. You wish them well. You thank them for the gifts and the lessons, and you keep trucking. That's what it means to let go.
You packaged all this, your story, in the TEDx Talk that had over 4 million views. So I just want to reemphasize how important, how relatable this is, especially at this point in life. And one of the things that when I listen to the talk is that, the epiphany of, oh my God, yes, I want to make a change. And you're at a point, you're at a crossroads of making a decision. And I think that's the first step that you say, right?
That is the next question, which is, when do I know it's time? Right? And it's when we have those epiphanies. Mm-hmm. And I've had people say to me, well, how do I know I'm having an epiphany? Listen, Yeah. Okay, I had 108,000 epiphanies in the 12 years of my relationship. All told me, leave. And I didn't like them. I didn't like what they were saying. I didn't like what they wanted me to do. And I ignored them. But epiphanies are like 2-year-olds that just ate a big bag of Swedish fish. They only get louder. They don't go away. They only get louder. And so you're not fooling anyone. You are only shortchanging yourself by not ignoring your epiphany, by ignoring your epiphanies. Right. And so that is the first step. So when that epiphany comes calling, you have to pay attention to it, because it is the truth inside of you begging for your attention, begging. And so once you have the epiphany and you can act on it, that puts the letting go process into motion, really, because you're using your big wild love and your knowledge that it's time to create change, to push forward. And so the second step is really dealing in the aftermath of that epiphany, because you're going to have feelings about it. And, you know, oftentimes we don't want to sit in those feelings. So we fill the void very quickly, right? We go find someone else who's exactly like the person we just let go of, or we eat, or we shop, or we do all these things. And, you know, look, if you have to eat a couple of pizzas, I mean, I lived in Chicago. I had my fair share of takeout, you know, while I was crying and binge eating and trying to get through the aftermath of this epiphany and preparing myself for moving forward. I also use that time productively to really sit back and think about, what did I need to learn from this? Why did I make that choice? Why did I stay so long? What was in my way? What kept me there? And how can I make sure to let go of all of that so I don't make the same choices again? So that's the aftermath of the epiphany. And then that sets you up for the third step, which is, what do you want?
Yeah.
Because
what do you
so
want?
often, because we're so afraid to claim it and name it because we don't think it's possible.
Right. I want to add one thing in here too, that we talked about in our first segment, is that while a lot of this and everything you describe seems to be directed at women, it's not. This is huge for men as well, and we have a lot of guys that are listening to this.
Absolutely, this is for men. I hear from tons of men. This is not just a female-only experience. We all need to let go for better relationships. We all need to make different choices as we're moving forward in love and in the process and in the post-process. Once we let go, in understanding, you know, I did some research around this question of what do we want? And you know what? We don't know. Only 1 in 100 people has any idea what they want. So if you don't know what you want, how are you going to get it? You're just going to walk in circles and say like, oh, well, that looks good. Chances are you're going to gravitate to the same thing you just let go of.
Right.
So you have to be very intentional. And, you know, so much of this process, Silke, is similar to the way we are in business. Because the fourth step is, once you know what you want, is how are you going to get it? We'll do this all day long in business. Here's my business objective. Here's my business plan. Here are the strategies and the tactics that I'm going to use to get to my goal. But when it comes to love, we just fly by the seat of our pants. We think, oh no, this knows. This knows. No, this is just going to always take us to what's most familiar, what we learned in childhood, the relationships we're still working out from there.
Right.
We have to be strategic about, this is what I want, and these are the 3 ways that I'm going to get to it. And then when we do that, then we have to figure out, what else do I need to let go of? Because there's a ton. I call these things let goables. We have a gazillion let goables, and one can like inspire the other. Like I said in the first segment, you know, when I was dating again at 42, now I had a new let goable, which was the belief that I was too old to find love.
Yeah. We're talking to a lot of people here that believe that.
Right, of course. And in my book, I have 100 let goables. If I want to date someone, or if I have a partner that I'm interested in another state, and I want to be with that person, well, what do I need to let go of now? I need to let go of where I live. Do I need to do that? Do I need to let go of my house? Do I need to let go of the fact that maybe I've chosen somebody out of reach because I'm making the same wrong choices for myself? Or did you watch a parent have a long-term relationship? Like, what else do you need to let go of? And then literally putting it into a documented plan. And I know that, again, this is very, you know, yes, I've spent 30 years in corporate America. I'm not going to lie. But you know what? These are all the things that I did, you know, that really helped me. And I don't know about your experience, if any of this helped you, but really helped me not just get from one point to the other, but it literally gave me something to hold on to when I was losing it.
Well, and your book, you do. I meant to say that earlier. You have I mean, you have a path, a diagram. It really does take the reader from point A to point B to point C. So if you want to be that specific, that organized, it's all right there. I mean, I wish I would have read your book before, because I very much flew by the seat of my pants when I did it. And learned a lot in the process, which all helped create this channel, and talking to wonderful people like you, where we can hopefully help some others who are struggling with these questions. And in your I'd like to give some more examples, I think, of letting go. I know in your TED Talk you had like 5. And I think that might give our viewers a little bit of an idea of really maybe perhaps where to focus first in order to figure those out.
Yeah, well, I actually had 9, and I had to leave 4 on the cutting room floor. So, well, I mean, there's letting go of taking things personally, of course, because again, what other people do is about them. It's not about some defect in us. I think we know when we've been bad and when it is about us. And so I think that's a really important thing. We've got to let go of what other people think. It doesn't matter what our mothers or our children or our friends or society thinks about the kind of choices in life that we're living. It's really about us. And that is becomes even ever more important as we're getting older, right? Like, there's no more time for that. This is really about who are we and how do we want to spend this part of our life? Exactly. It's letting go of perfection. I tell people I am gloriously imperfect. When I met my husband, one of the first things I said to him on like our 3rd date was, "I'm super sorry." And he was like, "For what?" And I'm like, "For anything that I'm going to do over the course of this relationship, because I'm imperfect. I'm gonna do things that are gonna piss you off, and that are going to make you like scratch your head and roll your eyes. And that's just going to happen. You don't have to be perfect to be loved. You just don't. Let go of not yet. Like, that's a huge, huge one that I talk about in the talk, because we wait. Well, I'm going to wait until I'm thinner. I'm going to wait until, I can go on sabbatical for my job, or I retire and I have more time. There's no time. Right. There's no time left. It's time. Now it's time to get to it. Yeah. And there's one that I don't have in my talk, but that I love to talk about, which is let go of closure. Because
that's interesting.
There are people who are still talking about the failed relationships of years gone, right? People who've divorced or, have been wronged in some way, and they're still waiting for that other person to come and give them the gift of closure so that they can move forward.
Very interesting.
But we need to be like self-cleaning ovens. We need to be able to give ourselves our own closure, because nobody is coming to save us. No one, I think about some of my ex-boyfriends and some of the questionable and horrific things that they'd done. And I'm like, even if they came to me and like begged me and it had all the explanations in the world, I wouldn't believe them.
Yeah.
So we can't need that from other people. We cannot need closure in terms of relationships from other people. And so that's another thing we need to really, really let go of. But I think, these are just illustrative of some of the things that I think that stand between us. Like, if we're here and we want this, it's what are the things that are standing between this and this that are in your way? Because that's the stuff you need to let go of.
Right. Let me ask you a personal question. What in this process, if I ask you, what was the hardest part? Does anything pop up?
That's a really good question. I think the hardest part for me was really just the big wild love part. It was the understanding the limiting beliefs. And I think actually deeper than that was the not beating myself up for staying where I didn't belong. Yeah. Giving very important years of my life over to a situation that was never going to give me what I wanted, believing that I had all the time in the world, believing shortchanging myself. Actually, I think that was the hardest part, was when I finally understood,
Mm-hmm.
that I could have made a different choice at any point along the way,
Mm-hmm.
instead of wondering why he wasn't giving me what I wanted, or trying to change his mind, or negotiating with myself all the reasons why I should just stay put.
Yep.
For all of that energy that shortchanged me.
Yep.
I could have been making so many different choices that served me in such a deeper way.
Yeah.
And I had to learn how to really forgive myself most.
Yeah, that I concur with that. The biggest regret, we've done videos recently on regret and whether that's a bad thing, good thing. How do you deal with that? How do you come to terms with it? And it's the same thing. Why did I stay so long? I knew 10 years into my marriage it was over, and I stayed another 15 years.
Right.
So
Right.
that's why this conversation today and what you offer people, is just really a way to just deal with it, gosh, in
Right.
such a logical way, and a lot of people need that.
I will say this, and I know we need to end, but I will say, again, it's not our fault. We have to give ourselves so much grace. We are human, we are animals who are wired for safety. And it takes a lot to make those big, bold moves. You did it yourself. It's not easy. So when we finally do, some people never do.
Mm-hmm.
When we finally do, that is really the time, and I don't talk about this as a seventh step, but that's the time for grace.
Mm-hmm.
Looking ahead, taking our lessons, and knowing that we now have the power to really give ourselves all the things, make choices for ourselves that really deliver to us the life and the love that we want.
Yeah. Exactly. One thing I'd like to add or get your opinion on, and then you're right. We are again coming to the end. We have a couple of minutes left, but people that are listening and that know that they're in that situation or wish they could do it, but just are just so scared or just frightened by actually even thinking about that or going there. You can change and you can make things different within a situation as well.
Such a great point.
Yeah,
it's such an important point, and I'm glad you're making it, really, truly. Because things don't have to always holistically be thrown away.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's letting go of an issue inside of a situation.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes it's letting go of an idea or a particular way of engaging, or a set of external circumstances that continue to impact your internal relationship.
Right.
That is really where letting go comes into play. And I'm so happy that you said that, because I don't want people to think if you're in a loving, fulfilling relationship that, maybe you have some issues, which every relationship has.
Right.
Nothing
Exactly.
is perfect.
Exactly.
There are occasions where maybe you need to let go of being right.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to let go of going over and over trying to change a situation that's never going to change, or not being able to see another perspective, or allowing an external force have an impact you don't want it to have, or even whatever talk track is going through your mind. Like I tell a story in the book about one woman who was married to her childhood sweetheart, and she never thought she was worthy, and she would fight with her husband all the time, but it was never about him. It was always about her own feelings of inadequacy. It was about her waiting for the ball to drop, because she lost her father when she was young very suddenly. And so her fear, her subconscious fear, was that her husband would leave her. Somehow, some way, she would again be in that situation.
Yeah.
She had to let go of that. That was not about her relationship being good or bad. It was all hers. So I'm so happy you said that, because it's such an important point.
Yeah. Well, and again, it just gives you so much to think about. The bottom line being, if you're unfulfilled in life, gosh, it's
Right.
life's too short to live like that.
Right.
And
Not
here's
yet.
a way, that you can make a change. Jill, thank you so much again for your time.
you.
Yeah, we will. There's so much more I want to talk to you about, and I hope you'll come back on.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So fun.
in the meantime, I'll link to all your information to the book. Everything will be in the show notes. Do watch her TED Talk. It's that's inspirational, just by itself. So Jill,
Thank
thank
you.
you again, and we'll see you soon on Second Act
Sure.
TV.
Thank you.
If you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe to our channel. The button is right here. Just click on through to YouTube, and when you see the little bell right next to the subscribe button, hit that too, and we'll notify you every time we launch a new video. See you next time.